Are you thinking about enrolling for an MBA? Are you hoping to transition your career, but you're second-guessing yourself because you need to give up your current job, make a loan, and be out of work for at least 1 year while you're supporting your family? Well, today on Transitions, I'm hosting Emiliano, who will share how he wished for more. He gave up his job in a small company in Italy, enrolled into an international MBA that was going to propel his career and have him work around the globe. So if you are thinking about an MBA and are not sure how to go about it, join us on this episode of Skillsformars Transitions. If you want to continue getting career support and inspiration, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week, someone will share their incredible transformation journey. Hello, Emiliano, and welcome to Skillsformars Transitions.
Hi, Julia. How are you?
Very good. Sunny day here. Amazing for Amsterdam.
Incredible. I know a little bit Netherlands, and that's really incredible.
Yeah, you do know a bit of the Netherlands.
A little bit.
This is incredible. For the past month, since we've been inside, it's been crazy sunny. 20 degrees. All you want is to get out.
I think since I left Netherlands, it has been all the time like this. I think it was my fault.
Yeah, you have to tell us all about that experience.
I will.
Can you introduce yourself so everyone would know who you are and then what we're talking about today?
Definitely. Very brief introduction. So, Emiliano, 41 years old since a few days, Italian, now living in France after long, let's say, trip. Now happily unemployed, but let's say looking for the new challenge and the new transformation.
So this would be the second one in your life?
That will be the second,
big.
Maybe, yeah. But the biggest, I think, is the one we're going to talk about.
So tell us a bit about that and how you made the first biggest decision, career decision in your life.
Yes. So I was in Italy. I was working in Italy after the university as a, let's say, any of my friend, my colleagues, and there was something wrong, let's say, in my experience or in my feelings. So I start to feel the need. To change something. It was not a sudden thing. It was little by little, but it was clear at a certain point of time that I have to change something. I wanted to have a more international career. I wanted to have, of course, improve my career. And I was a little bit stuck in a specific situation at that time.
What was the situation? Where were you? What were you doing? What didn't you like about it?
I was in a beautiful, let's say, environment because it was my hometown. So my hometown is a beautiful place in the south of Italy, close by the Amalfi Coast, so a place where everybody want to go and live. But on the other side of the coin is also a difficult, let's say, environment to work in. So I was working in a good company, but it was let's say a medium company, an Italian medium company in the south of Italy. And I wanted to start to feel the need to work, to have a more international experience. I was trying to apply abroad, but I couldn't access to any job. Also because I would say my English was not perfect. On the contrary, I didn't know almost any English. So I studied French at school, so I didn't know any English. So many things that made me almost impossible to change my career at that time.
What did you do? Yeah. How did you take the decision? Because we've met and I know a bit of your story, right? Yeah. But how did you decide in the end, right? This is the perfect situation where you decide to stay home, right? I don't speak the language. I don't seem to find any job. I'm sure at that point, friends and family didn't really think that you are supposed to go away because you were next to them, having a good career where, in your home city that you loved, next to a beautiful coast. So how did you make the decision in the end?
I've had another difficult point was that I didn't have any savings to make any change. So you're right, especially in the south of Italy, in our culture, if you have a job, you don't quit. If you have responsibilities, you take responsibility of your family, you don't jump, you don't make a huge, let's say, difficult and not sure decision. And if you don't have saving, you have nothing to invest. So decision was taken. Instead, I told you at the beginning, I was feeling this need. I was feeling this need to make this change. And every day back from work, Alessandra, my partner, she was seeing that. And at a certain point of time, it was clear that something has to be done. And the decision was not really a decision. It was really a natural, let's say, outcome of all this feeling, all this process. So the decision was to take an MBA, so quit everything, take an MBA, because in my understanding, the MBA could have been the transition, the trigger to that international experience.
But to go for an international MBA, you definitely needed to have some experience and you needed to have to learn to know English, right? Did you start with English, or how did you start? How did you start, or did you just quit and went to the MBA?
No, I couldn't. So nobody could accept me in that MBA. So I had to, since I decided and until I was able to go to the MBA, I had to build up all the things that I didn't have. So I didn't have English. I had to learn it. I didn't have money. I had to find a way to get that money. I didn't have, of course, the TOEFL test, the GMAT, all those things. So since I decided, I started to, little by little, one by one, start to tackle those issues. The English was, I had 32 at the time. So the English was strange for me to start again learning the language, a foreign language. And I was working at the time. So I had to find tips, tricks to learn languages in the moment I during the day I could. So when I was driving to work, I was listening podcasts, or if I was commuting by train, I was making GMAT exercises, etc., etc. And of course, I had a good teacher, English teacher, Mark from Manchester, very structured guy. So the type of guy I needed, because I'm not completely structured at that time, was not completely structured. So he was the right teacher for me. So that for the English. Then I had to learn how to take a GMAT test, which is a different story. So again, it was day by day, month by month, was a continuing exercising for that. And of course, I had to find the money. So I took a mortgage at the bank. The mortgage was accepted. So until the day I sent the application to the school.
How long did it take you to go and learn English, learn for the GMAT, and prepare?
Well, learn enough, let's say. My English is still not perfect, but it took, let's say, 2 years in total, since the moment I decided till I went to my first day in the school.
And I think you already had one daughter already, right?
I had one daughter,
yeah.
And when I started MBA, I had the second coming.
Yeah. That's what how many hours were you working a day with everything included?
During the MBA or
no, before to prepare?
Before I was working on, let's say, normal day, and before the work, I was studying English. After the work, I was studying English. And during the lunch break, I was doing GMAT, things like that.
What? I mean, this is 2 years. This is not a small amount of time. What kept you focused? Why did you ever think of, hey, this is too much? I mean, it's too many lunch breaks missed. I'm doing this on the train. I have no time to spend with my child, or very little. Why am I doing this? Did you ever ask yourself that, or thought of going back?
Of course, clearly, in 2 years, it's definitely something that you ask yourself every month, probably at least. I also remember that I spent my holiday during the summer going alone in US to have a little bit of boost for my English. So yes, few things. My motivation was the need. So the need to change, the need to find something else was definitely my motivation. And when you have this kind of motivation, I think you don't give up easily. Having said that, there were down periods. And during those periods, I think Alessandra helped me a lot. So my partner, who was seeing myself after work every day. So she was experiencing somehow my frustration. So she helped me during those periods to say, okay, you're making some sacrifice. Don't forget that this is for the good, etc., etc. I think that's it. And the last thing I think was also the fact that this is part of our discussion today. Is it was the problem itself was huge, was complex, was, let's say, Massimo impossible. My mom called me crazy for that. But if you look at things one by one, in a very small amount of those issues with specific milestone. For me, for example, the English was one milestone, but I could break it in a smaller one. I think the fact to handle this and to have a specific smaller issue and milestone helped me a lot to go and to improve for 2 years.
It's a long time. Honestly, I think going to the MBA, that period, right? Even though it's totally new, you break free of everything that you were doing. I mean, you had a job, you had the kids, you had to learn, right? I'm sure. Did it feel like a vacation for the start when you quit everything?
No,
No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, why not?
Because let's say the uncertainty, the amount of uncertainty, it was huge. It
Okay.
was completely a blind jump.
Why was it so uncertain?
I said first because again, culturally, Italian from south of Italy used to think that once you have a job, you grow up to that, you don't change. So changing a job for something different, which you don't know yet, it's a big risk. The fact that you are responsible for your family, you don't have money, for anything wrong that can happen also for this. And also because I knew a little bit what I wanted, but I was not sure how could get there.
Why I'm asking about uncertainty is I've worked with a lot of MBA schools, and you have analytics, right? And then they pretty much tell you 90% of our cohort this year got hired in this and this and this job. So and with this kind of salary, right? Usually it's an increase, and a lot of good companies are looking for you. So at least when you start that, it feels a bit from the outside, right? I've never done an MBA, just what I read and what I see. It feels a bit like they're trying to make you feel more secure and less uncertain while you started. I'm not sure how it was for you from this perspective.
I think you're right. I think especially if you go to nice, to important business schools, at the end you will find a good job. In my case, first, I didn't know about the MBA school before going. Second, I was having also a very specific background. So it was my master's degree in physics. Then I was doing sales. I want to change something else. I didn't know if I could succeed on that. And also, I remember also my colleagues finding jobs after 1 month, after 6 months, after 1 year. I couldn't cope with 1 year unemployed because of the mortgage, because of the family. So it was a kind of pressure, I would say, to find a good job after the MBA.
How hard was it to learn during the MBA and to catch up, because you studied something totally different, right? You had a bit of the feel of the business, right? You worked in a business before, but studying for an MBA is a different beast.
Especially at the beginning, when you go in this from someone who just learned English, but with 100 people speaking 100 different accents of English, and with all the pressure and the charge that they put, yes, the first 2-3 months were crazy, really crazy. I remember I barely washed my clothes doing at the laundry during the week, so it was very difficult.
Were you relying on any knowledge, any skill that you could use during the MBA and after as well?
To be honest, yes and no, in the sense that during what I got from my master's degree in physics, beside the technical parts, were the capability, I think, to study any topic. Because during the university, we study very difficult topics. So I think that was the important thing. Before the MBA, I think the skill, if we can call it skill, it was the fact that to as we were discussing, structure biggest things in the smallest pieces. So break down biggest in the smallest in a structured way, and somehow also add a little bit of creativity sometimes to solve those issues.
But you did not speak the business language, so that was totally new and you had to learn it.
Completely.
Was it enough just to go to classes, or did you have to go to internships, read, learn something on the side?
I would say internship, I didn't have the chance to get the internship. I would have loved, but I couldn't. There were a lot of workshops, there were a lot of competitions doing beside the classes, normal classes. So yes, all the extra activity, I would say, that were available. I tried to do it.
I want to go back for a second to your finances, right? Because you took a mortgage to pay for the school. How did you manage to keep yourself, right, take care of yourself during the MBA in a city which is not necessarily cheap and in a country which is not necessarily cheap? Who supported you? Did you have any?
No, it was just the mortgage.
Okay.
I just had with that, one part of the mortgage was for the school cost. Another one was for myself. Another one was for my family too, because also I had to take care of my family in Italy at the time. So no, I think I did the math in advance well enough, in the sense that my money, I think, ended when I start to work with a new company after the MBA. So I was lucky. To be honest with you, if I have to resume all the things, I was very lucky.
And then you did study math and physics, right? So I think that was part of the skill.
Yes.
How long did it take you to find a job after the MBA?
Well, actually, as you know quite well, it was quite quick in the sense that I couldn't wait too much. So I started to apply just after the summer. So the process started in September. By December, I got the first offer, I would say, and then I accepted at the beginning of January. 1 month later, I was starting in France working.
While you were in school, and then we switched to the job. While you were in school, did you ever feel like, hey, I'm a junior again, I'm a student again? Did friends and family ever come back and tell you, hey, what are you doing? You're just fresh again. What's going to happen to you?
Well, I told you, my mom called me crazy when I said that I wanted to go to school again. I was already a father, so it was complex to explain her why and how, etc., etc. Yes, it was difficult. Was going back to school after many years. It was difficult to understand how all those new things I was learning, I could use it for my goal. My goal was to find a better job in an international environment, and it was complex to understand how to use what I learned for this goal.
Was it hard to go and explain to everyone why you're doing this? Did it ever make you question your decision?
Yes, especially I think from my family was more complex. Few friends supported me, not all of them, I would say, but it was sometimes a little bit difficult to explain. But again, I had the need. I think when you have the need, I think everything else is in let's say, not in the first.
It keeps you focused.
Yes.
So what's your career and how did it develop after the MBA?
Yeah, I think I told you I was lucky enough to be hired just after the MBA. And if I look back now, it was very good decision for me. I was hired by Emerson, so an international big group, just after the MBA, and that allowed me to go to living in France, living in China, working in Europe, in Asia, traveling a lot, meeting great people, having fun. So it was really, really a great decision for me.
If you look back now, do you think it was a good decision? Are you happy with the results?
I'm really happy for the results. Of course, I'm missing my family and my friends in my hometown. But overall, I would redo the same things again and again.
So now you are again thinking of switching.
Yeah.
Where are you with the thinking?
Well, the thinking, it's pretty advanced. The question still open to me is how and where. I think, again, the decision is taken. The point is to see which sector, which industry, which kind of also challenge. It's interesting at this point of the career for me. But now, especially after the experience I had in the past, I think now all the process is much more smooth, it's much more calm, it's much more interesting also to discover.
Are you thinking of going back to Asia?
It could be. We loved the Asian experience, me and my family too. It's, let's say, 50-50% of chances to stay in Europe or go to Asia.
I know Alessandra learned Chinese. Did you learn Chinese as well?
A little bit.
A little bit.
In the end.
It helps, I imagine.
Yeah, it helps, especially when you leave and you want to work in a specific country. For me today, well, it's not only the Chinese things, it's also that the business environment is much more fast than Europe. A lot of things are happening over there. So that's, for me, it's very interesting.
I want to ask you one thing about switching continents, right, and switching cultures. How hard was it for you to adapt to a new culture, which is quite different than the European one? And how did you make it? How did you make the transition?
I think, again, it depends if you have the need for this. Mm-hmm. In my case, I had it because the position I took over in Asia, it was a good one. So for me, it was more important than anything else. But the cultural shock, it's pretty important. Then I think it's also a personal, let's say, matter, because some people are more compatible with some specific culture. Some other, they cannot stay. I have a friend lived in Japan for 2 years. He couldn't stay longer, so I know that.
That's why I'm asking, because, and then you didn't have an individual contributor role. You were a leader of two departments, actually. So it's one to go there and adapt by yourself, and it's another thing to go and lead other people who are from a different culture.
Yes, it takes, I think, a mix of many things. One is to stay, let's say, strong when difficulties come, and they come. And the other thing is also the capability to adapt yourself, to understand and adapt yourself. I think I remember I spent a couple of months to really understanding what was the issues with the things at work. But at a certain point in time, I think I clicked and I started to understand.
So Emiliano, if you were to change something, if you had to do it all over again, what would you change?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't change anything. Not because I did everything right, because I had a lot of problems and a lot of mistakes, but because I think the point where I'm today, I'm quite happy. And what happened in the past is overall a very nice experience. So I wouldn't change neither the good and the bad things.
Yeah, it's always good when experience, good or bad, whether you make mistakes, you learn from them, it takes you to a point that you're happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in a bad situation, I think you can develop those needs that we discuss in this discussion. And when you have the need, that's really the trigger for your decision, for those changes.
I agree. Emiliano, thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Julia. It's been really a pleasure.